What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, daily news, what's going on with the next stimulus package, which will be the largest stimulus package yet to date at $3.5 trillion. Could be negotiated down or up a little bit as both the House and the Senate are now working on the package. It is being sent over to the House of Representatives now to continue on with the reconciliation process. Yeah, we're going to go over some details in this video as well as what is going on in the United States, what is going on in Washington, D.C. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. New videos come out here on our channel every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's jump right in. We got a lot to cover. Okay, first up, a new report is out that 61% of households owed no federal income taxes last year, according to a new analysis. About 61% of households owed no federal income taxes last year. This is in 2020 when former President Donald Trump was president. An increase from previous years that was driven by the pandemic. According to the Urban Brookings Tax Policy Center, said in an analysis this week, roughly 107 million households were non-payers in 2020 compared to 76 million or 44% of households in 2019, the TPC said. The number of households who paid no income tax last year was truly eye-popping. But keep in mind, this is only temporary. Now, note that this is for federal income tax. This doesn't account for Social Security tax or sales tax. This is for federal income tax. Gleckman noted that there were millions of workers who lost their job in 2020 and that federal government started issuing 3 rounds of stimulus checks in April 2020 that were structured as refundable tax credits. As I always say on this channel, the stimulus checks are actually tax credits, advanced refundable tax credits. There it is in black and white. Quote, because they were designated as refundable tax credits, the stimulus checks, they had the effect of significantly reducing tax liability in both 2020 and 21. And the payments flipped some households from paying income tax to not paying any income tax at all, federal income tax. They also said that many households that didn't pay income taxes in 2020 did pay some other type of taxes, including payroll taxes, like Social Security taxes, or some other state taxes. Only about 21% of households paid neither federal income taxes or even any payroll taxes last year, according to TPC estimates. Now, however, though, this year in 2021, they have also enacted the child tax credits increase. Remember, they used to be $2,000 per child that former President Donald Trump increased from $1,000 per child to $2,000 per child. Former President Trump increased that in 2017 with the reconciliation process that Republicans had control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency back in 2017. Well, the Democrats increased that to $3,000 per child for children ages 6 through 17 and $6,000 for children under the age of 6, and made that distinction to where you don't even need to earn any income at all. So even people who don't file any taxes or have any earned income now can get $3,000 to $3,600 per child. So a family who might, or even a single filer or even a non-filer, a person who doesn't earn any earned income, could technically, let's just say if you had 2 children and might not even have a job, just as an example, can actually get a $6,000 back from the government through child tax credits and might not even have a job. And again, I'm not like swaying any potential thing. I'm just telling you how everything works right now. So yeah, this is kind of how everything is going down. Now we are in a pandemic and everybody needs a lot of help, but at some point in the future, um, and remember, 61% of people paid no federal income tax at all. So yeah, at some point in the future, they may have to change things around a little bit. And that's actually what they're trying to do right now. Remember, the Democrats are going to pass this next stimulus package, the $3.5 trillion package, and they actually want to, they're saying that they want to pay for all of it or the majority of it by paying for it. So what they're trying to do is what they say, raise taxes on the wealthy, people making over $400,000, people making over $1 million, and corporations. They want to raise the corporate tax rate from 21% to somewhere between 25 and 28%. And they also want to raise taxes on corporations that get by, like Amazon, just as an example, is notorious for making, they had a year where they made $11 billion and paid $0 in federal income tax because of tax loopholes. So they want to close those tax loopholes. There's been several different proposals floated around. We don't know exactly what's going to make it into the final bill because the final bill isn't written yet. Couple of these proposals are saying things like for corporations that make over $100 million in profit, that they're going to have to pay a 7% minimum tax rate, which means that if you make over $100 million, that you're going to pay a minimum corporate tax rate of 7%. This is different than the 21% corporate tax rate, because the problem is that even right now, the corporate tax rate is 21%. With all the tax loopholes and write-offs and everything like that, corporations like Amazon can still get down to a 0% tax rate. And even in some cases, the government can actually pay them because of tax write-offs and loopholes and foreign credits and all sorts of things, right? And that's just, it's legal. It's just the way um, it is. Just like a person can get a tax refund. In some cases, just like the child tax credit, a person can actually have no earned income. They cannot work a job at all, have $0 of earned income, and they can have two children, and actually the government can pay them $6,000 for children. Again, it's completely legal. It's not illegal, just the way government works, just the way taxes work, okay? Corporations can do the same thing, even corporations like Amazon that make $11 billion. So again, I'm not picking sides on for corporations or for people or anything like that. I'm just kind of explaining how things work. So they're trying to change the way the tax laws work because it's not the Democrats' fault. It's not the Republicans' fault. These tax laws have been this way for many, 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 many years. So they're trying to change this, and these tax laws are going to take a lot of doing and a lot of paperwork. Okay, this next bill is probably going to be thousands of pages. Okay, another way they're trying to do this is to force pharmaceutical companies to sell prescription drugs to the U.S. government and to American consumers for the same price that they sell to for other countries. They said that this can save the American government like $600 billion a year. So the government can save $600 billion a year, and they can use that money for this next package. $600 billion per year. Per year. Again, that's a savings that they can use to pay for this next package. So that, they don't even need to raise taxes because, again, just saving $600 billion a year can be used to pay for stimulus checks, child tax credit checks. Remember, tax credits are really just money sent out to the people, whether you get it on your tax return or they send it out to you in a monthly check, a stimulus check, or a check in the mail, direct deposit, all sorts of good things like that. So they're trying to close a lot of loopholes in this next package. But President Biden and the Democrats have promised that they're not going to raise any taxes on anybody making less than $400,000. We will see. We will see. Again, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. So we will see. We'll find out, right? But I'm kind of telling you guys this because based on this report, 61% of people paid no federal income tax. Social Security tax, yeah, if you work, you pay a Social Security tax, But that's kind of different because the government can't use that to really pay for anything because that goes to the Social Security fund, and the Social Security fund kind of has to fund itself. Now, sales tax kind of goes there. Sales tax kind of can pay for some things, kind of. But basically, the government has to be somewhat self sufficient or else it goes to the national deficit. And we all kind of know that pretty much every single year, the government already runs a national deficit. In fact, over the last 4 years, underneath former President Donald Trump, he ran in excess of $8 trillion in just 4 years. He ran up the nest, and again, I'm not picking sides. You can just look this up. It's a fact. He ran up the national deficit by about 40% in just 4 years. And again, a lot of it's just because of the stimulus packages, stimulus package 1, stimulus package 2, and the other stimulus packages that were in there, and the pandemic. So again, in extraordinary times, you just kind of got to do extraordinary measures, because if we didn't do that, you just would have seen the economy collapse and crumble, and it was either that or things were going to be like 1929 and everything would have just crumbled. So it's either have a couple $1 trillion just go on the national deficit, or the entire economy collapses. So I don't think we want to see the economy collapse. We'd rather just have some money sit on the national deficit. And honestly, President Biden's doing the same thing. Money just is going to go on the national deficit. But this next stimulus package is going to be a little bit different, just like the infrastructure package is going to be a little bit different, because the infrastructure package is almost entirely paid for. And that's the only reason why Republicans signed off on it. It's not 100% paid for. And we had a Republican senator on the show in an interview say, yeah, the Congressional Budget Office isn't giving us 100% credit for it, because they're taking some money from some things like the unemployment benefits that states have opted out. All these Republican governors that have opted out of unemployment benefits, they're using some of that money. And the Congressional Budget Office isn't giving them credit for that, but they're using that unused stimulus money that the Republican governors have opted out of there. There's like billions and billions of dollars there that's unused stimulus money. They're using that for the infrastructure package. But the Congressional Budget Office isn't giving them credit for it. But they said any reasonable Republican or Democrat would give them credit, but the Congressional Budget Office isn't giving them credit. So they said like over 90% of it's paid for. A little bit's going to go on the national deficit, but in all reality, it's not a big deal. Now, we also had really big news yesterday that President Biden will not seek to extend the $300 unemployment boost money past September 6th. And there's several reasons for this. One of the reasons for this is because all the Democrats do not agree on this. And remember, to pass this next stimulus package, if they were to include unemployment bonus money in this next package, they pretty much need every single Democrat in the Senate to agree to this, and like 99% of the Democrats in the House to agree to this. And moderate Democrats like Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema do not agree to extending the $300 unemployment boost money. Remember, regular unemployment continues. That's just regular unemployment. That's going to never end. But moderate Democrats like Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema and members from the House do not agree on this, because pretty much all Republicans from Congress and even moderate Democrats, it's a unpopular / popular opinion that people think that it's preventing people from going back to work. It's not, I'm not saying this, but I think that we all know that there's a lot of people that think this, that there's a lot of people that it's just a popular opinion out there, that a lot of people think that there's people that are collecting $300 per week and they're getting their regular state unemployment of anywhere $200, $300, or $400 a week. So they're getting anywhere from $500 or $600 a week on average, and they're just not going back to work because they're just collecting this per week. So a lot of people think that there's millions of people out there that are just not really going back to work. They're not seeking job opportunities like they normally would. And that's why they don't want to extend the unemployment benefits. Now, President Biden and the White House says that states can extend this on their own with their own stimulus money from the third stimulus check package, the $350 billion But in my opinion, and this will probably be pretty close to correct. You guys know that I'm always pretty close to correct on these type of things. We won't see any Republican governors do this because we know all the Republican governors have opted out of this. A lot of lawsuits are going on this. And we'll probably see very few Democratic states do this. We might see a few. We'll have to see on the Democratic states. But I think that we'll see a few to maybe very few. Okay. We'll have to see how many. Um, I'd be surprised if we see them all. I'd be surprised if we see half of them. And again, we'll just have to see because again, I'm just guessing here. But Biden says that the states can use their extra unemployment benefits to do that $300 per week boost. I don't think we're going to see a lot of them. Again, I'm just guessing here, just kind of my gut feeling. I don't think we're going to see a lot of states use their money for unemployment boost money here. Again, it's just kind of a guess here. You guys can let me know your thoughts on this. Now, I do want to say that this unemployment decision, in my opinion, is very irrelevant to all the other stimulus provisions, okay? Because a lot of people think that, again, I kind of explained why the unemployment, people think, and again, I'm not saying this is my opinion, but I think we all know that a lot of people, especially Republicans and even a lot of Democrats, think that the unemployment bonus money is preventing people from going back to work. I mean, of course, we know the problem is the Delta variant's going crazy right now. But let's just set that aside. The unemployment boost money is irrelevant to all the other stimulus provisions. And here's why. We literally seen, just like in the last day or two, President Biden just canceled $5.8 billion in student loan debt for disabled people. It was, again, $5.8 billion, okay? And this is just one of the stimulus items that was just done in like the last, what was it, the last 24 hours, last 48 hours? And I want to bring up my stimulus provisions being discussed here for the next stimulus package. I kind of updated this a little bit. You can see my items in green here. These are items that were recently passed literally within the last 2 weeks. Okay, we can see that they have passed 4 major stimulus items, stimulus provisions, stimulus programs, whatever you want to call them. Stimulus programs, stimulus provisions is probably the best names for these. They extended the eviction moratorium until October 3rd, even though I think they said they wouldn't do that anymore. They wouldn't extend the eviction moratorium anymore, and they did it anyways, okay? Because again, the Delta variant is just going crazy right now, and they're just kind of extending or passing any type of stimulus they can. So they passed that stimulus program for about 15 million people that were going to be thrown out on the street because they're behind on rent till October 3rd. They also extended a stimulus provision for 40 million people that have student loans through the government till January 31st. I believe they also said that previously they weren't going to extend the student loan payment pause anymore in the past, and they did this anyways, okay? So that's another thing they said that they weren't going to probably do again, and they did it again. That's item number 2 here, as you can see right here. That was just done in the last week or two. I think it was within the last week, okay? That's stimulus provision for 40 million people. That means you don't have to pay your student loans for the next 6 months until January 31st. There's no more interest for the next 6 months. You don't have to make the payments at all. It's basically like you don't have to pay your car payments or in this case, your student loans. You don't have any interest on your student loans. There's no interest penalties, no payment penalties, no garnishment penalties. And I don't know how much the average student loans is, but it's probably like $200 a month or something like that. I don't know. You can let me know how much your student loans are in the comments. But this provides a huge relief for like 40 million people. Okay. They have now forgiven this year $8.8 billion in student loans. And honestly, they've done it in now 5 different sections of student loan forgiveness. This is item number 3 that they have done this year. And they just did a 25% permanent increase of SNAP. It's the largest increase ever of SNAP food stamp increase. It's a permanent increase. A permanent increase. The average person on SNAP will get a $36 increase. Again, it's based on how much you get. So I, I, I have to look back because I've seen some information that it might be up to a 30% increase or almost a 30% increase. But I also need to note that there's a 15% temporary increase, a pandemic increase that will be ending at the end of September. So that will be going away. And then the new 25% increase will be kicking in. So please note that. Okay. But this new 25% increase will be permanent. Okay. Permanent. The average person on SNAP gets about $121 per month per person, and they will be getting about a $36 increase. Again, it's based on how much you get. So if you only get $20 a month, you're going to get a 25% increase on that. I know that'll only be about $5 for you, so that won't be that much. That'll be about $60 per year, $5 per month. But if you get $36 per month, that's 400 and some dollars per year. But what I do want to note here is that they're passing stimulus items literally by the week. And this is without the major stimulus package not even being passed yet. Okay. I also want to note here that these four items, especially the $8 billion of student loans being passed, this 25% SNAP increase, which I don't even know how many billions of dollars that is going to cost, and this pause on student loans, I don't even know how many billions of dollars that's going to cost. They did that without congressional approval because they just have the authority to do that somehow. And they did that without costing the next stimulus package any money. So the interesting thing here is that these were things that were previously on my list to be included in the next stimulus package. And yet they did that without costing the stimulus package any money. So the cool thing about this is that they're kind of making room in the next stimulus package by, for example, increasing SNAP benefits for 42 million people, pausing student loans for 40 million people, and providing stimulus provisions or stimulus programs for 80 million people right there, giving stimulus relief to these people. Hopefully it's you. Of course, it will be some people, but not everybody. They're providing these stimulus measures without even using any of the stimulus money in this next package. So they're kind of passing the stimulus programs without even using any of the stimulus money. In fact, they're actually like opening more room because they didn't have they passed this without using any of the money in the next stimulus package. If you kind of know what I'm saying, it actually leaves more money to use things in the next stimulus package, like a forced stimulus check, like the child tax credit checks, which in my opinion are basically just stimulus checks. I mean, if they give you a check next package and they call it a tax credit, if they call it a child tax credit, if they call it an adult tax credit, if they call it a stimulus check, do you really care what they call the next check? Do you care if they call it a stimulus check? Do you care if they call it a tax credit? Do you care if they call it a whatever they call the next check? Do you care if they call it a stimulus check, a tax credit, an adult tax credit, which by the way, they have said in this next package will be an adult tax credit and a child tax credit? Do you really care? But the interesting kind of thing is that they're passing these stimulus items here right before they're going to pass the next stimulus package. And they're kind of taking things off my list here and providing stimulus provisions to people and kind of removing them from the stimulus package without technically taking money. So for example, SNAP and EBT was on my list here for number 24. Student loan forgiveness and student loan payment pause was on my list. I actually removed it from the list here just to kind of, because you can see I'm running out of room here. In fact, my face is kind of probably in the room in the way of some of these things. I kind of reorganized them a little bit so you could kind of see these here. But student loan forgiveness and SNAP EBT is kind of on my list, but they're kind of passing some of these things here right before the stimulus package without actually putting it in the stimulus package. So they're kind of passing some of these things right before the stimulus package and kind of making room for some of these other things like stimulus checks and tax credit checks, which is kind of pretty interesting to me because what are they making room for? So we're going to kind of see as we get really, really close to this next stimulus package because we know this next stimulus package is going to be the largest package ever, and they're passing these stimulus items, and they're going to have a lot of money for a lot of things in this next package. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts on this. I thought that was very interesting. I'm kind of starting to see some chatter around the internet saying, yeah, it's kind of interesting. They're passing all these stimulus items. And I actually seen some of your guys' comments in the last video that said it's kind of good that they're not going to pass the unemployment in the next package. Of course, if you're on unemployment, you probably have a very different opinion. But I'm just kind of telling you some of the comments I read in the last package said it's kind of good they're not going to include unemployment in the next package. Again, just telling you the comments I read. I always get, some people that have very different opinions. Um, but some people said it's good they're not going to include unemployment in the next package because that leaves more room for other type of checks. And that's why I kind of gave you that my thought process on them passing these other 4 stimulus items that they just passed without including them in this next package because then it's not money that comes out of the $3.5 trillion. So the more of these stimulus items they pass before the package, it just leaves more room in the next stimulus package for checks. Whether they call it a stimulus check or a tax credit. Remember, honestly, guys, the child tax credits are just checks. They're literally checks going directly to the families of $3,000 to $3,600 per year. Literally just the equivalent of 3 stimulus checks of $1,200. So if they send adult tax credits to people for $3,600, whether they call it a stimulus check or an adult tax credit, it really doesn't matter if they call it a stimulus check or a tax credit. It's pretty much the same freaking thing. So I don't know if they're going to call it a stimulus check or a tax credit because we all kind of know that a stimulus check is a tax credit anyways. The first article we just read today actually said those exact words, and we all know that. So I don't know if the word stimulus check is going away because there's some bad stigma around it. I mean, Republicans kind of hate the word stimulus check now, just like a lot of people hate the word unemployment bonus because, again, it just kind of has a bad stigma. I personally think it would be a really good idea for Democrats to include a stimulus check at the very last moment because, again, everybody would love it. But on the other hand, I think the Republicans could use the word stimulus check against them at the very last moment, say they're giving away free money to everybody. But again, that's politics, and that comes down to the voting, which I really don't care about because, again, the voting has nothing to do with me when it comes down to voting season. I think that whatever's going to happen at the voting polls is just going to happen. We'll see. But I think that they need to include whether checks or tax credits in this for them to, Bernie Sanders says historically that when one party's in control, when Republicans were in control in 2017 and 2018, they were in control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And the Democrats are now in control of everything. If they don't do everything they're supposed to, in this case, I think it's provide checks for a lot of people in need that they're going to be in big trouble. So you can let me know your thoughts. So I'll keep you up to date with everything. New videos come out every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'll keep you up to date. You can click this top video here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video teaches you how to start your own business selling products on Amazon FBA. I've had dozens of students that have replaced their 9-to-5 income selling products on Amazon. And you can click this video to see how that works. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.